The grader box said it fit on this tractor. A little deeper research.
Holy freaking A.
"20 years ago, I moved to Alaska and started an adventure that turned into a way of life. My channel is all about sharing my experiences living in the northernmost state. Nothing in Alaska is easy. Some days are successes, some days are failures, but every day is an adventure. Please follow along with all my hunting, flying, fishing, harvesting, and DIY projects. I don't think you'll be disappointed." Okay, so not pointing any fingers, but first snafu with the tractor. The 3-point hitch here at the back, the hole sizes for the top and bottom pivots, they don't come anywhere near matching up with what goes onto the actual grader box. This pin, obviously, nowhere near the right thing. It needs a bushing in it. The dealership that sold me the grader box said it fit on this tractor. A little deeper research, I think this grader box is for a smaller tractor, but they don't have a grader box the size that goes on this tractor. So I asked about pins with maybe adapters or bushings to make this work, and not pointing any fingers, they seem helpful, but they just seem like that's not something that they're gonna supply me with. So I have some steel stock here on hand, and we'll make some adapter bushings and make this work, put this together so that I can use the grader box. I think it'll be fine. So here we are back at the dusty lathe. We've got our stock here, and we've got our pin here to use all for reference. The very first thing we're going to do is take this piece down to dimension so that it will go through those big bottom 3-point hitch, and then we'll bore the center out to make it accept this, and we'll make our bushing out of this material. This isn't my favorite steel. It's not very free machining, so this stuff doesn't turn great. I don't even know what it is, but I have made other things out of it before in the past. I just remember that it kind of doesn't turn great. Then the top bushing pin will be made out of this. This stuff I do like very much. This stuff, very free machining. I can't remember what this is either. I used to have it written on here with a marker, but I must have wore it off or machined it off.
After a little bit of investigation and a brief conversation with my father-in-law, I learned about the Class 1, 2, and 3-point hitches for the back of tractors, and that solved the mystery as to why my pinholes and pins didn't line up with the size of tractor. So in the end, I have a grater box that's slightly smaller than you should have for that tractor.
So if you can believe this, out of all the stock that I have, all the round steel, all the different kinds, the only thing I have that's a good size, perfect fit for this is 1045 tool steel. So I'm gonna make a pin for my tractor out of 1045 tool steel. Oh well, that's what I got. I don't have time to order something. I'm in Alaska, remember? So we got all the pins done for the 3-point hitch, and we got the grater box mounted on the back. I got Courtney in the tractor right now testing it out. She's just doing a little bit of grading, rounding some gravel just to make sure that they work and everything lined up correctly.
really sad about it. I probably made a mess for you. I did. I was trying to even out the ruts, but then I just made more ruts.
It looks perfect. We're gonna put some more gravel down anyway. So.
Yeah, it needs to.
So back to the wall tent for the night and make some dinner. We made some pork ribs here and put some barbecue sauce on them. It's still cold enough that it's almost June and we still have to have a fire in the tent every night. That's how chilly it is. Still down into the 30s every night. Courtney shot a black bear last summer, and we still have some of that meat left. This is some black bear sausage from her bear from last June. Update on the Cub Cadet tractor restoration. The parts came back from the sandblasters. I think I might have showed that in the last video. They needed a few things touched up and some welding here and there. I took care of that and then prepped them for paint. So I at least got a primer coat on them. And hopefully in the next couple of videos, we should be seeing the tractor start to go back together and look like a tractor again.
Where the front suspension pivots, the front axle, and you can see how it's oblong egg shaped. And you can see here, back from this side, see how worn that is on the top, because that's where all the pressure was. The front pivot appears to be about the right size, so we'll use it as a guide. And then the back one is the one that took all the wear. So we're going to have to fix this and make it the same dimension as that hole before we paint. This is another fix. Denali, how are we going to do this? Come here. You want help? You know what to do? You know what to do? Huh? You know what to do. So, have to figure out a way to fix that up. Could weld it, and then try to drill it out round again. Drilling a machine weld is not great. Or we could put a washer with a hole that size on it, and we could weld it right to here. Remember, we're remaking this pin. That pin got destroyed during the disassembly, so I'm going to make the pins. I can make anything I want, and make it as long as I want. I think the washer idea.
I know what everybody's thinking, and I'm thinking the exact same thing. How is he going to get the actual center of where that hole used to be? Because it's so wallered out, there's no way to know. Well, we're going to assume that most of the wear happened that way, because that's the way all the weight would have been on the pin. We're also going to assume that this front hole is pretty close to original tolerance. So I'm going to put a metal rod in here. I'm going to use the little welding magnets to make it 90 degrees to this bulkhead here and shoot it, and it's roughly going right through the kind of center of that other hole. It's close. And to be completely honest, I think I'm just going to eyeball it, see if it's straight, and then we'll deal with it when we make the pin and assemble that front axle, but I think it'll probably work.
So the paint that I used is actually aircraft primer for airplanes, and the reason I used it is simply because I had it on hand and it was going to go to waste if I didn't use it. But it is pretty caustic stuff, so you have to build some sort of a paint booth and have some ventilation. You need to wear at least a mask, if not a full respirator, when you shoot this stuff. So I put together a quick makeshift paint booth just to spray these lawnmower parts in.
So here's the finished parts, all with a good coat of primer on them. And I think I'm going to do an assembly and make sure that everything works good before I go for finished paint. Any last minute welding or machining can be done then. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoy this kind of stuff, please like and subscribe. Stay tuned. There's going to be a couple more videos coming out very quickly. More about the TYM tractor. We finally got it out to the remote property, and we're going to be doing a lot of land clearing with it. So if you're interested in TYM tractors, there will be some great review on that and lots of good footage, and you can see the thing in action.